Can you guys see that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Just want to welcome everyone back to the final day of this Spirit of Communication Motivational Interviewing for the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. Kathy Tomlin is here. We just can't see her, but she is here. I promise. I heard her voice. And Jeff is back, and I see Stephen and Curtis are here. I don't know if Sean will be dropping in today or not, but you never know. As you all recall, this event is brought to you by the National American Indian Alaskan Native Addiction Technology Transfer Center. Oh yeah, and Brian is here too. Gosh, almost forgot you, Brian. This event is brought to you by the National American Indian Alaskan Native Addiction Technology Transfer Center, which is located here at the University of Iowa. We are part of a national ATTC network. This project is funded by SAMHSA, and the content is developed by the presenter, and the opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of SAMHSA HHS or our center. We are going to be providing PDF version of these slides, and we are recording. I believe we're recording, Jeff. If we aren't recording, we should probably make sure we are. We're going to record today's event as we have been. And then I know at the end of today's meeting, I will post in the chat box a link to a short survey. And I believe we'll reach out to all of you via email and have another opportunity to complete that. And at that point, you should be able to request your CEUs. And I think since it's such a small group, we may just be able to do that pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. And again, I know we're gathered here virtually, but we want to take the time to acknowledge the land and pay respect to the indigenous nations whose homelands were forcibly taken and inhabited. Please take a moment to read this land acknowledgement, which was created by three members of our team, Ella and Keely Driscoll and Sean Bear. Thank you. Well, I'd like to turn the floor over, if I can get my Zoom screen to come up there. There we go. I'd like to turn the floor over now back over to Dr. Kathy Tomlin. She is one of our consultants, one of our staff members, and has worked within the addictions and mental health treatment and prevention fields for many, many years. She is semi-retired, but we're doing our part to keep her as busy as possible. So we're really happy to have her here with us. She's a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. As she's mentioned, she also has some Irish descent in her as well. So we're really happy to have her back with us today. I consider her my colleague and my friend. Kathy Tomlin is here. We're just not going to be able to see her today. So Kathy, I muted you, but you can unmute by just hitting *6. You should be able to unmute your phone.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Hello?
Yep,
Okay.
we hear you loud and clear.
Well, I'm having trouble on this end with Zoom. It's not really Zoom, it's my computer. My computer has some software on it that's taking up 100%, almost 100, between 80 and 100% of the CPU. So yeah, so I've got that. That's what's happening.
Okay. Can you?
Trying to get out of this to pull up my PowerPoint.
Yes, I know we had it
because
up earlier. I made you take it
Yeah, I
down.
know. It's just running very, very, very slow.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a minute to pull back up. This is where you sing the Jeopardy song.
Yes, cue the music, Jeff.
Yeah.
I could have, yes, I could have Jerry stop up. All I got to do is text him. He'll come up. He's out I'm in my car. I told him I couldn't
Good old.
give him my canoe until after the training today. So
Yeah. It is actually stuck on land acknowledgement on your. It's grayed out and stuck there.
okay. Would you like to? Is there any way? I wonder if we.
It just says Zoom meeting is not responding. I'm going to close this.
Yeah.
I might have to come back.
Okay. Well, we'll miss you while you're gone, and but we're
There we
happy
go.
to have
You
you
have the
back.
slides as well?
What's that, Jeff? You
Okay,
cut out.
hold on.
You have the slides?
I don't believe I have the slides that Kathy's working on. I don't know, Kathy, if you shared those with us.
No, I have them on my desktop. But
That might be
even
the
if
other option is
you
to-
had them, I can't see the slideshow right now. So I just logged off. I'm going to log back on. This is my 4th attempt. So you'll have to let me in.
Yeah, we still see you. You're okay. There she goes.
I know, I'm on the phone.
Yes, I know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I had a moment there where I thought, how can she be out? And then,
Yeah.
okay, we'll watch for you.
Yeah. I don't know if I have to call back, but I hope not.
I don't think so.
Just in case. Oh, okay, good.
But once you can, if you want to send us the slides, then we could advance them for you.
Yeah, that might free you up a little bit, Kathy, not to have to fight with your computer so much.
Well, once I get the slides up, it's no problem. It's the operating system. Okay. Already joined by phone. Okay. So now I can do share screen. See, this is where I got stuck right here.
Yeah, it still says you're connecting. So
oh, okay. Sorry. No, I can't take any responsibility for this, but I feel like maybe. Okay, here we go. I know a little bit about IT because of my sister, but I don't know how to fix anything. Okay.
yeah, it still says you're trying to connect. So
Yeah. Okay.
okay, now it says you're in.
Okay, now I'm going to do share screen. All right, now we're in business.
Okay, look at that.
Look at that. All right.
Yep.
You guys can see that.
Yep, just get yourself in presenter mode and we're in good shape.
Okay. You can see how long it's taking now. It's taking a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome to day 4, you guys. I guess who are we left with? Curtis and Steve? Hi, Curtis and Steve.
Hi, Kathy.
Well, we'll just see how the rest of this goes, but there's a couple things I want to cover, and we probably won't do small groups just because it's just it's just us. Oh, and Brian, there's Brian. Hi, Brian. So let's just, I just need a moment myself to calm myself down. So just take a moment and pray to the computer spirit to give us an easy time from here on out. But give me about 30 seconds, and you can take some time to do a private blessing if you care to. So my blessing was just to allow this training to go well today for you, and I appreciate you hanging in there, and to offer a blessing to the computer gods to fix the damn thing. Anyway, we will carry on. Before we quit today, please remind me to do a closing story of the coyote and Mother Earth. That's how I'm going to close our training. So remind me to do that before we leave today. All right, so yesterday we did quite a bit of this type of practice and had some experience with that. And today, I don't know if we'll get to this, and it's not as crucial, frankly. Most people, when you know you're with somebody and they're in a process of change, this kind of comes easily. The only issue here is really when people's ambivalence flares up, but we're going to be talking about ambivalence today, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so here are my slides on ambivalence, and they're pretty much visual. So when we talk about ambivalence, we're talking about both are strong, and there's different types of ambivalence. I don't know if I have that slide on. Oh yeah. So there's the approach type of ambivalence where you have a choice between two fun things, like I like pizza, I like ice cream. Which one? So that's an easier type of ambivalence. Hopefully you don't get stuck in that one. And then there's the bad, which often early recovery people who are mandated to treatment, or people who are referred to you, or a healthcare concern, they're between a rock and a hard place, meaning that either way they go, it's not their favorite thing, and you're picking the lesser of two evils, essentially. Then there's the approach avoidance, which is the most common one, where you have a choice for change, whereby moving towards the desired change, or maybe the ambivalent desired change, creates stress and anxiety because you start seeing the good things about what you're leaving behind, and moving over to what the status quo is makes you uncomfortable because you need to move forward. So it's really the approach avoidance perspective. And often this is one of the most challenging types of ambivalence to process. Now, once you've got a comfort level and you feel confident that you're doing really well with your reflective listening, and that you're doing the 2-to-1 ratio, and you've got spirit and style, those are the top skills to start with. But once you've got those skills down, it's not uncommon to run into this issue of ambivalence, and I've alluded to it the last several days. So we're going to really start talking about where people get stuck in change processes and where we get stuck with them in change processes. I don't know about you, but dealing with somebody who's got an intense type of approach avoidance dilemma is uncomfortable unless you're able to use your MI skills and let them struggle. Because often the approach avoidance or the double approach avoidance, the double whammy, the example I use is you're single, you're dating two people, and both have pros and cons. And you have to pick one. And that's the double approach avoidance, because you're going to experience loss at this place. Now with, and we're kind of having I'll use our friend Jerry as an example. His drinking has been his friend for a very long time. And he knows he has to lose his friend, but he's not quite ready to give it up. And he wants to hang in there and maybe modify his drinking so he can keep drinking in his life while he gets a better life. And as you and I know, that probably won't work for him. However, that's where like maybe examples of harm reduction might come into play, whereby you do a little harm reduction to allow him time to discover that that's probably not his best option overall. But this is a real challenge. And it creates discomfort in a person's life and a kind of a feeling of something's missing in your life until you kind of feel that void. So to resolve ambivalence, you have to pick a path. And you imagine being this fella standing one way, the shadow going another way, his back, we're looking at him from an angle, and he's kind of standing there trying to figure out, okay, which path am I gonna go? And I don't see any movement there, but he's kind of looking ahead, he's looking forward, but he's hesitant. So that's this image for me is it's a good example of, at some point you have to take a step in a direction, and you almost kind of see him moving forward, but not real strong, not real. So part of our job is to strengthen moving forward, to help him make that decision to move forward. Yeah, so how do we address ambivalence? Well, one, you acknowledge it. And you, sometimes when you're working with ambivalence, you have to take a lot of deep breaths because there's this tendency for us to want to fix things. You know, there's this tendency for us to want to offer suggestions and problem solve for the person. For example, you know, giving advice. When doing so only strengthens the other side of the ambivalence. So it's not productive. You really have to walk somebody through their own ambivalence through a guiding style. And it fluctuates quite a bit in earlier stages. So follow MI. When you encounter resistance, now MI calls this discord, but we're going to call it resistance. That when you get that kind of resistance, like it was mild resistance yesterday, but Jerry, when I suggested about looking at his drinking as a focal point in our work, he resisted that in a nice way. And that was the cue for me to not go there. And sometimes our clients are polite and respectful, and they'll want us, they'll give us the impression that it's okay to talk about something that they really don't want to talk about. And we have to be cued. We have to be cued in on that and change our strategies. And then this is a little bit on self-compassion. If you're interested in helping people work through ambivalence, there's a little exercise that, this is from Dr. Kristen Neff. There's an exercise you can do even for yourself when you have a negative emotion, which sometimes ambivalence can feel like. You're just doing a meditative reflective practice where you just take a moment when you're experiencing the heavy emotion, you say to yourself, may I be kind to myself? May I accept myself? May I forgive myself? May I be strong? May I be patient? May I ... whatever makes sense to you, which is really a way to help encourage and support when you're feeling stressed out. And it's a mental, emotional activity that you can do when you're confronted with a client that has that kind of intense emotion and you're experiencing it with them, but you're detached. MI is a practice of empathic detachment. And it sounds that those are kind of two terms that for some people might seem strange, but you can have a lot of empathy for somebody and be detached from the emotional impact of that. So being emotionally, empathically detached, this is a meditative way to do that in a nice way. So say you're with somebody, you get triggered or hooked into them, but you want to do MI, you want to practice your MI skills. This is one way you can do it, is to privately say to yourself, or alternatively, you can teach your clients this. My dissertation was teaching young adults this exercise. She has 7 or 8 exercises on her website down below here that you can teach your clients how to be more meditative, to deal with their anxiety and their stress and their failed attempts at change. Okay, so let me just pause here. I just gave you a bunch of information. That's a lot of information about a very key component regarding motivational interviewing. Yeah, the MI in the first and second edition, they called it dancing with somebody versus wrestling with somebody. So you're psychically, you're doing a Tai Chi move. That's how I think of it, is you match where they're at physically, and then you slowly move them. You slowly move them. Tell us about Stuart Smalley. Are you going to bring Stuart Smalley? Who's that? Tell us who that is, Curtis.
Steve and I know.
Oh yeah, we know. We know Stuart Smalley. And Curtis is just old enough to remember Stuart Smalley.
Right. Yeah. SNL.
Well, tell us.
Was he SNL or was he in Living Color?
No, it was. You know who it was? It was the former governor of or senator from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Al Franken. Yes.
Oh,
he played it.
Right.
He played a character, Stuart Smalley, on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
He would do the affirmations into the mirror. And, I'm smart enough. I'm strong enough, and doggone it, people like it. It was sort of
exactly.
It was kind of a satire on,
counseling,
self-help, and sort of self-affirmation.
Yeah. Well, this is not like that. Although I can see where you could make that analogy. This is really to be used when you're stressed out, when you're feeling negative. Neff calls it negative emotional states. That's when you start using that, because you're trying to soothe a negative emotional state. And when you're working with somebody and they have high ambivalence, you're going to feel that ambivalence, and that is often it's a high negative emotional state. People start to panic. They start to feel defeated. They start to feel hopeless. They start to feel like they can't get what they really want, and then that creates that emotional state. And then, so you bring in the mindfulness practice in the moment at that time, just to soothe that negative feeling. Like, may I be kind, may I be patient, etc. So I was going to ask you guys to take a moment and think, if you can think about something currently in your life that you're feeling ambivalent about, that has some meaning attached to it. You don't have to share what you're feeling ambivalent about. I just want you to bring it to your mind and think about what the ambivalence issue is. What are you feeling ambivalent about? So it could be a job change, it could be a job issue, it could be a relationship issue, it could be finances, it could be exercise, diet, it could be a variety of just common life issues that you experience an ambivalent state over. So take a moment and think of one. And this would not be an approach type of ambivalence. And it doesn't have to, and I think I would probably have you choose an approach avoidance type of ambivalence. So does everybody have one? And because you can't see me, I can hear you really well though. So just let me know when you're ready. You got it? All right.
I think so, Kathy.
Now, okay. And now what I want you to do is I want you to pick or make a decision about resolving that ambivalence by choosing to go one way. And as you do that, I want you to tell me what it feels like to move in that direction. So go ahead, you've got an approach avoidance, pick a side, go towards it, and say, that's what I'm going to do. And as you do that, I want you to describe what happens when you move in that direction. What comes up for you?
Fear.
Okay, does everybody have that experience? Okay. So now I just want to talk about it. What's it like to move in a direction with an approach avoidance dilemma? What are you experiencing? You don't have to tell us the issue, but what are you experiencing having to pick?
Well, I'll speak up. I think when people are in that stage, like what I'm experiencing, it feels like I'm not as productive. Like I could be doing something a little bit more if I decided one way or the other. But without that decision, it's just, I'm moving a little slower, I guess.
Kind of like the guy with the path in a way. It's like I'm kind of moving, but I'm stuck. Are any of you thinking about the alternative path? You know, as you move closer to the path you're taking, has anyone said, "Well, wait a minute, I want to go back"?
Yes.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what is driving you back? Is it the negative of the back? Is it the positive of the back? Is it the hopefulness of the backward going back? Why would you choose to go back?
Just rethinking it over again.
Uh-huh. So when you have thoughts that come up, you're thinking, well, you know, maybe it wasn't that bad. Or I don't know if I really want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose X, Y, or Z. So I'm not sure I want to do that. But I sure like to be able to. You know, that's what the thinking process could feel like. Okay, now imagine that you're sitting with a person who's experiencing that with you in the moment. You know, you're watching it, you see what the dilemma is, and they're going back and forth and back and forth. What is your typical reaction to that as a helper? What do you want to do with that person when you're watching them go back and forth and back and forth?
I want to make the decision for them. I want to help them reach a conclusion.
You want it to be over.
Want it to be done.
Yeah.
Let's get this
And
going.
so do they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the need, I say knee jerk, it's actually called premature focus in MI, but it's called the writing reflex. Okay. So we want to make it right. We want to write it for them. And so what might we do to make it right for them? What might I see that you do to try and make it right for them? What would you do that I might notice?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, when you're doing a writing reflex, you're trying to solve somebody's ambivalent dilemma or struggle. What might I hear you say or do that shows me that you're trying to write it for them? Make it okay. And let me start off, because there's several different things you could do. One thing that you could do is say, you know, that happened to me. And what I did was ... Okay, now if you thought about that, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with offering advice and sharing some self-disclosure about a common problem that you both have? From an MI perspective only, what's wrong with that from an MI perspective? Starts with a C.
Like a closed response or closed, you're kind of giving not much room to explore their own thinking with.
That's right. Yeah, it's not client-centered.
Yeah.
Why is it not client-centered?
It's because it's about you.
Because it's about you. Yeah. Right. And depending on the person might be polite, and probably in Native communities, that's probably what will happen is they'll be respectful and polite, but basically they shut down. Because guess what? You cannot solve somebody else's ambivalent struggle. That is their decision to make. So you're seeing somebody struggle. They're ambivalent. They don't know which way to go. There's pros and cons on both ends of their decision making, or actually I'm presenting it as if it's binary, but it's possible there could be several decisions that people need to make. So my job is to guide them by using MI Spirit and Style, using the ORs, by pausing, by acknowledging the struggle. For example, gee, Stephen, this must be really hard for you. I can see that you're really struggling with this. What can we do together to make this easier on you? What would be helpful? And Stephen, just play around with me a little bit. Say I just said that to you with your ambivalent struggle. What might you say to me? Let's do a quick role play.
Yeah, so it appears that you're struggling with this situation.
Right, that's a good observation, reflective statement, and then pause. Okay,
Put it
and
back
then
in their
what?
court. Put it back in their lap.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys time to practice. So I need to come up with an ambivalent struggle. It's going to be real play for me that I'm working on. Let me think of one that we can practice with. And your job is to not try to solve the problem, not offer advice, but just process the ambivalence, because and you're going to use MI Spirit and Style and ORS to do that. Okay, let's see. I'll just use what happened today. Computers. Okay, I'm an older person. I'm not totally rejecting technology, obviously. I have some skill, more than a lot of people in my generation, but not as much as some. And yesterday we had a nice class, and I finished our class and I turn off the computer because I'm done, semi-retired. I'm done for the day, mentally, emotionally. I need to get up and move around. I need to take my dog on a walk. Okay, so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I need to call IT, but I didn't do it yesterday because I'm done. So this morning, I'm doing magical thinking. Turned the computer off, rebooted it 2 or 3 times, and I thought, hey, maybe it'll work now. A simple solution. So I didn't get on, it wasn't working, and I didn't start soon enough, and I finally called IT. Well, first I called my sister, who's IT, but she got a part-time job, so she's not as available. And then I finally called IT about an hour before class, and the computer was working so slow that I thought, why can't this guy just do TeamViewer just like my sister does? Come in, fix it, and I'll be ready for class. So in the meantime, I'm kind of thinking, damn it, I hate doing all this shit. Is what I'm thinking is I feel totally incapable of solving this problem. I'm sick of dealing with technology. Why can't things just work the way they're supposed to? Blah, 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 blah. So the anxiety starts coming more and more and more, and I have to make a choice. Go to class, and hopefully it works out somehow. Stay on with IT. And tell people, so a million decisions are going in my head about how to make this work today. Even to the point of, I wonder how they would feel if I canceled class and asked them to come back later. And I thought, nah, that probably wouldn't work. So here we are. So you're listening to me talk about this. I'm feeling ambivalent about technology right now. I know I need to get it resolved. It seems to be working okay right now, although the visual is missing, but that's fine. You know what I look like. I'm using my phone to communicate with you. Fortunately, it's plugged in. And I'm feeling kind of frustrated with the whole thing. And I know when class is over, I have to go back to IT, but I don't really want to because I don't really want to deal with it anymore. So that is my dilemma. Should I, I don't know if I can, now see, here it is right here. People are texting me while I'm talking to you. Anyway, here it is. Okay, now use your best MI skills to talk to me about this. I still have to make a decision. I'm still ambivalent about it.
Yes. I put some
Today.
examples, Kathy, in the chat of things that I might have said to you, but I just wanted to put those out there for everybody to see. Just pulling from some of the ors and some of the different ways that I might.
Those are,
respond.
yeah, let's just go over them. Revisit the pros and cons. That probably, let's see, normalizing, creating some.
That
dissonance.
was before. I start with a lot of people struggle with tech issues.
There, okay, yeah, let's start there.
Yeah,
So you're doing reflective listening, empathizing with the situation. Okay, so from a lot of people struggle with tech issues all the way down. Those are all engagement type of reflective listening statements. So let's just take those and let's assume that they were spoken. I'm reading them now. And the one that, because of my ambivalent state about it, it's the one that moves me more is the last one. It's clear you're trying hard to make this work. Okay, why is that one moving, would more likely move me towards making a choice or a decision to follow up with IT today versus next Wednesday? Why would that particular one, do you think, would work?
There's some good affirmation.
What is, yeah, it's an affirming statement. It's acknowledging effort, but it's also saying trying hard to make this work cues into my value of wanting this training to go well for you. So that's another tip, is clue into what's important to them in terms of outcome. You know, like often ambivalent struggles are about values conflicts. On the one hand, I value this, and on the other, I don't value that. But if I don't value that, then I won't get this. So that's that back and forth, back and forth. You could do if you wanted to do a cognitive behavioral sort of intervention, you could do a pros and cons list, which is very CBT, but you could do it in a MI spirit and style by doing open-ended questions to 2 reflections, etc. Okay, so let's go back to, it's clear you're trying hard to make this work, and I'm just gonna start talking in a role play scenario or real play scenario, and then you guys can decide where you're going to be in guiding mode. You guys can decide where you're going to take me to kind of move towards resolving this a little bit in this time frame. So yeah, I am really trying hard to make this work. That is true, and I am frustrated at my lack of knowledge and ability to do it myself. And I'm also feeling stupid in a way that I downloaded that update to the Logitech camera, which seems to be taking up all the space on the computer. And I had no idea that would happen. So in a way, I feel it's my fault for updating the Logitech camera. In a way, I feel that way, but I also think that maybe my computer is old, because when I talked to IT this morning, they said, what kind of laptop do you have? And then I thought, oh, maybe it's the computer itself that can't handle the upgrade. Anyway, I'm thinking IT, and yeah, I'm thinking IT, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it isn't my fault. Maybe it's the university's fault for giving me a laptop that can't handle upgrades. I don't really know, but yeah. So when I asked the IT guy, hey, do you know how to do TeamViewer? And he said, yes, I know what it is, but I can't do it. Then I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe it isn't my fault because
Yes.
I got entry-level IT right now. Anyway, yeah. I still have to figure out what I'm going to do after class.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know what I should do. You upgrade every 2 to 3 years. I just upgraded my private computer. Maybe I should have switched to that, but I don't think I can get in the university that way.
You know,
Yeah, so I'm stopping here right now.
yeah. So Kathy, I'm very empathetic with your situation with the IT problem because from that older generation that didn't grow up with it, so it's very challenging for me. So I think when there's an issue or subject that we really don't have clear understanding on or background on, it's really frustrating on which way to go with this. If you're talking about a subject that I know more about, it's easier for me to know which way I really am leaning toward. But when I really am clueless about what's going on, it's not a good place to be. Because I really don't know, I just don't have enough knowledge or information to make a good decision. I'm going to have to find someone, ask some questions of someone I can trust to give me the answers. That takes time, research, blah, blah, blah. So that certainly puts the skids on my motivation to put that much effort and energy into what's really going on and what do I really need to do.
Now, Steve, I'm going to do a little coaching for you.
Yeah.
I can relate to what you're saying, but I also think you need to make it more about the other person. So, so take everything you said and use the word you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was thinking. I'm sorry. I was in the client mode. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was on the wrong side. Wrong side of the room as Steve was.
Yeah. No, this is your practice session as you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But everything you're saying, you could just switch it to about them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, here's what's happening right now is you can kind of go in a circle with reflections. All these reflections that Steve's offering, Brian, that all of you are offering, you can keep saying them and saying them and saying them, but at some point a decision needs to be made or a path needs to be chosen. So what do you think needs to happen right now in this? If I'm the client, you're the helper, you've done really good reflections. What do you need to do to move this out of an engagement process into a focus process? What needs to happen?
Yeah. So tell me what you think you need to do. In other words, I'm putting it back into their lap. I'm gonna keep giving it back to them. Okay. So we're at a stalemate here. We're going back and forth. So tell me.
And I would say, that's what I need to do is I need to decide. I mean, obviously, I need to talk to IT. I can't solve this on my own. I don't have the skill set and ability to do it on my own. I also don't want to mess up the computer with the university, you know, because it's not my computer. I don't want to screw that up and mess that up. So what I need to do is go back to IT and maybe find the time, because I know it's going to be taking some time. I mean, hell, they might even send me a new laptop. At
Yeah.
this point.
So
I have no idea.
But Kathy, what if you said, so what do you think your options are? Because now I'm thinking,
Well,
like, do you take it back to IT and say, I want to trade this in for a new model? Or is it repairable? You know, or
yeah.
you know, what are my, maybe you go to wherever you check out the laptop and say, hey, what are my options?
Yeah, and I'm on the West Coast, and so I can't take it in anywhere. I could probably send it in. Yeah, Brian. Okay, well, whatever that means. You can say that to me, but I haven't got a clue what that means. But yeah, sounds good. Whatever. But if upgrading the memory, I think that's a memory card. Is that a memory card or a processing card? I don't know.
Yeah. So I like to explain it this way. Think of a wheelbarrow. So if you got a small wheelbarrow, that RAM can only move so much data. But if you get a bigger one and a bigger mover, you can move and process a lot more data. So that's all that is.
Okay. So maybe, I don't know what that requires, if that would require me to get a new laptop with a new RAM, or if they can do it remotely or whatever, but it all sounds very time consuming to me. And so does that mean that I spend more time taking care of this after class? Because it would have to be an after class thing, or do I wait till tomorrow? But you know, I've got a training I've got a bunch of stuff coming up in the next few weeks, so I got to get it fixed right away to make it work. Yeah, I may not know what they're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that going to create more frustration for me if they're going to land it on me, which is a bad place to land a computer problem? Yeah, I guess I just need to call them and find out what it's going to take time-wise and what it means to, I'm going to use that RAM thing, by the way. I'm going to act like I know what I'm talking about. And I'll go ahead and use that RAM thing. And I say, well, do we need to upgrade the RAM or the processing chip? And if that's the case, I probably have to turn this computer in unless they can go in and delete the upgrade that I did. Just put the computer back into the original default setting. I don't know, but yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop now, because do you see that just doing reflections without moving it forward with an ambivalent struggle, the person could stay ambivalent forever in that. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay. But when you're using MI with spirit and style, you're basically moving it forward. And the way that it moved forward for me in my scenario was attaching it to something of value to me, and then allowing some time to process that value. So what was of value was making sure this class was successful and solving the problem to make sure that future classes are successful. So that's personal to me.
Yeah.
And being able to operate the system properly. And what that implies then is I have to take action by calling IT and finding out how much time and energy I'm going to have to devote to dealing with this before my next class happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's,
Kathy, you're saying you're ambivalent, but you said something that I would turn around and use on you. When you disclose that, hey, okay, I'm looking forward to the future. I've got training coming up. You've got a window of time to get this thing fixed.
Yes, as long as I give it the right amount of time, because if I misjudge the time frame, I'm SOL.
Exactly. So you've got to, as Jerry would say, you got to stick your toe in the water, and you got to start somewhere, because your time is going to run out, and you don't want this to happen again, because that's just not how you operate. And you're gonna get this thing fixed, get back online. This is not going to happen again. So
that's right.
Right. So you're going to have to say, okay, the reality is I don't know where to go, but okay. The 4 laws of logic that I use a lot with myself is I can't stay here. I can't go back. I must go on. I must tell someone.
Okay, well, now you're preaching to me, Stephen.
I know you are. But what I'm saying is,
you are preaching.
I know I am, but I'm saying it to myself. When I have a dilemma. I think that is, having a little structure to the decision-making process. I think that is helpful. And I think what I would do before you do that is say, can I offer you a way that I think through decisions? Would you be interested in hearing how to think through decisions? So if you ask permission, then I'm like, okay, he's trying to help me, versus just tell me. Yeah, no, I agree.
Again, you're dealing with an ambivalent situation that can turn on a dime.
Right. I mean, you're being ambivalent about it, but the reality is, just from getting to know you like I have these last few days, is that you're going to find a way to fix this, and you disclose that you've got X number of days to get this done before you've got training in the future. So you're going to have to move forward, and so my job is to help you, for you to realize that you've got a window of opportunity here, and how's it going to look going forward.
Now, are you?
But you've got to tell me that. You've got to tell me that. I've got to get you to a place where you come to that realization.
Okay, are you practicing right now, or are you just talking to me?
Oh, I'm just brainstorming with you. I'm looking at it from a realistic perspective, the way I see it. But I've got to help you get to a place where you're coming to that conclusion without me telling you that. You said it. Maybe I tell you. Did you realize that you said?
Right.
Here's my situation. Yeah. Here's my situation.
Yeah.
Because you did. You did
you realize?
That. Use that as a point of going forward with you to help get you less ambivalent. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, so let's go to the chat, because here is a really good question. Here, okay, so we did a lot of reflection, and here's a really good open-ended question. What happens if you don't get this fixed? That is going to move me forward. I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to be upset with myself that I didn't give myself time to get it fixed. That's not an option, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's that combination of open, reflect, open, reflect, open. And you're trying to guide and move the person forward while you're also focusing on what is the most important thing you can do right now. Focus is about right now. What are we going to do right now that helps you feel you're moving forward and resolving this issue? So that could also be another open-ended question. What are you thinking about right now, or where do you think you need to focus your energies right now to solve this issue for yourself? And this is after you've done some engagement and gotten a good relationship started. Okay. I want to go back to the slideshow and move ourselves along. So that's ambivalence, and you can tell ambivalence is not an easy thing, but it is essential that we acknowledge it and work with it for that person to move forward and get out of their dilemma. So what this exercise basically did was it did selective eliciting, selective responding, and selective summaries. We didn't do quite a summary, but a summary would be, well, now that we've talked about this, Kathy, it sounds like you're aware that you need to fix this problem. It's not an option for you to not fix this problem, and you have a certain time frame in which you need to do it. You know what that time frame is. You also understand what kind of energy it's going to take for you to do it, and you also are acknowledging that you don't have the right skills and knowledge to fix it. So it sounds to me like what you need to do is to take a look at what your next steps are going to be. Yeah. And as you think about that, what are you thinking? So that would be the way to wrap this up, basically. And I would say something like, I need to call IT back after I give myself a little break this afternoon and see if they can give me some suggestions. And then if it goes into Friday, hopefully it'll get resolved by tomorrow at the latest. If it means I have to switch out computers, that's going to take more time, and I'll have to deal with that. If that's what it means, I'll probably have to deal with that tomorrow, but I think that's what I need to do. You know, so yeah. Now I've got a resolution to that dilemma.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, what we've done in the training is we've gone from engagement and spent a lot of time with spirit and style. We've spent a lot of time with, you know, how you are engaging other people. We've learned the essential skill of reflective listening, which I believe, and I think Miller and Rolnick feel this way as well, that skill in and of itself is essential to master before you can move on in working a change process. We've used the ORs to do some practice sessions, and we just had a quick demonstration of the issue around ambivalence and how ambivalence can stop a process of change if we don't give it time and energy to get some resolution. So now we're entering into what I believe is the more advanced practice of motivational interviewing, and that is this notion of change talk. It's unique to motivational interviewing. In the first edition, it was called Self-Motivational Statements, SMS, Self-Motivational Statements. They've revised it to Sustained Talk. If you think about the concept of self-motivational statements, and really what you're talking about is you motivating yourself through what you think and feel as you're thinking about whatever change dilemmas are in front of you. So let's go ahead and move forward with this. So sustained talk in MI is client speech that favors the status quo. So if we were to recall, and we might visit with Jerry one more time before we're out of here. If we were to recall our conversations with Jerry was talking in the first role play. he was talking mainly sustained talk. It was, what can you do to get the PO off my back so I can keep drinking? So the change talk was more about, I need to get out of the legal problem, but it wasn't about drinking. In the second role play, it was a mixture of change talk and sustained talk. And the strategy that was used to pull out that change talk was doing the taste of MI exercise, where you're asking Jerry, you're integrating more the guiding approach, but you're asking Jerry to give a rating of 0 to 10, and he chose a 6. And you said, why didn't you pick a lower number? And Jerry started giving us change talk. And then when we asked what would it take to go one number ahead, Jerry gave us some more change talk. So he also, and this happens a lot with our clients, they'll do sustained talks, no change, or keep the status quo, and then they'll offer change talk. And we have to get good at hearing the change talk. And then we have to make a decision on how we can reflect and strengthen the change talk so that the person starts doing self-motivational statements. Self-motivational statements, or change talk, has been shown in the research to be a huge factor in whether or not someone gets motivated and commits to a change. So our job is to help people to get there, to get to a commitment level of change. But before we get there, we have to deal with sustained talk. We have to be able to address their struggles with picking away and sticking with it. Now, with your ambivalent thing, the thing you had imagined, sustained talk is about going towards one side of your ambivalent struggle. So usually, your focus might be change, a changed behavior, exercise more, monitor weight, reduce anxiety, stop using hard drugs and be okay with using alcohol, stuff like that. Go to a parent class. There's all different kinds of things that you could encounter with yourself or a client. And when they don't want to make that change, they'll talk why they shouldn't be having to make that change. So they're moving away from the change or the targeted behavior. So how to respond to that? You don't want to ignore it 100%. You just want to minimize it. You want to make an intervention that doesn't amplify it. So you might start with, well, if you did not, if you continued to, let's get a concrete example. Somebody throw out an example of an adult dilemma, or I could do an adolescent too, but of a dilemma that an adult might have about something in their life that is easy to talk about.
It could be tobacco use or exercise or diet change.
Let's do tobacco. Although in Indian country that could be a double-edged sword, but let's just say it's not. We're not talking about ceremonial use of tobacco. We're just talking about
Commercial
smoking tobacco.
Yeah. Cigarettes. Yeah.
Okay, so if you chose not to stop smoking, so an open-ended question that asks for change talk, what would that look like for you? So that's an open-ended question geared towards stopping smoking that then asks the person to imagine what it would be like if they stopped smoking. So really, you're trying to have them talk to you, self-motivational statements, regarding change, in this instance, reduce or stop smoking. Okay, so that's an example of that. And then you reflect twice. And then amplifying the area of concern to evoke a change talk, just what that means is that what are your worst fears if you don't stop smoking? And what might a person say?
Kathy, you want to just try that with me for a couple of, well, we can do kind of a
Sure.
sustained talk and a change talk
Yeah.
example.
Well, yeah. And, let me be the client so people have time to practice. So this is practice time for you as well. So I've done a lot of the demonstration, but why don't you just let me be the client and you guys come up with some MI kind of practice stuff. And if my computer was working, here we go back to the damn computer, but I could throw up a video and show a nice video on this, but we don't have that option today. Okay, yeah, so let's just say I asked myself that question. What's the worst thing? Well, I could get emphysema. I hear people get emphysema from that. Or with the COVID going around, my lungs might be compromised. So I don't know. But, my grandfather smoked until he was 90 and he didn't have any problems. Okay, so I just gave you change talk and sustain talk. So what are you going to do now? What's the strategy? You can reflect, you can ask an open-ended question, you can ask permission and do a pros and cons, you could do a scaling. There's several different things you could do to respond to that.
It sounds like you've given this a lot of thought, Kathy. Tell me more about that.
Well, I just don't really want to stop smoking. It helps me a lot, and it keeps my weight down. It's relaxing. I have a little bit of social time with people. It's my one vice left of all the vices I've had. It's the one that I have left. Okay, what did I just give you?
Sounds like you really love to smoke. Seems like it's a big part of your life.
It is it's an expensive part of my life, but yeah, there's a lot of comfort I get in smoking. And it is a big part. I don't like the negative side of it. I don't like the trash. I don't like the smell on my clothes and what have you. I don't like the negative looks from other people. I have a little concern about my health, but overall I'm pretty healthy.
So on the one hand,
of course, I don't want to go into the doctor and see my lungs.
So on the one hand, you love smoking. It's a big part of your life. But on the other hand, sounds like you have some concerns about your health. You have mentioned how important your kids are and setting a good example for them. And it sounds like it's also something that you have some health concerns about with your family history.
Well, I didn't say any of that, so I don't I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have kids. I don't have a family history. I'm not relating to what you're saying. So did you listen to me at all?
I thought you mentioned something about your grandfather, but maybe I misheard you.
Oh, family. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's dead now. He lived until he was 90. He smoked. He didn't have any problems.
Oh, he didn't have any problem.
No, he's one of those people, take it or leave it. I think I could be like that. I could be a take it or leave it type of person. You're getting a little resistance, which is good.
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
My urge is to try and, if I'm taking on the role of making Kathy do something, then I've sort of lost the spirit. What I want to try and do is get her to talk a little bit about what she likes about smoking, and then sort of contrast that with what her concerns are. So if
Okay,
I
now
said,
see, that's a good explanation of your strategy, your MI strategy. So, and that's exactly what you have to do with MI. You have to think MI. You have to think, what am I encountering? Some resistance. Now, what do I need to do? And you just told us what your thought process is in order to make that next step. And you do have to think MI when you're doing MI, in my opinion. So, so you just told us what you wanted to do. So let's see what happens.
so tell me a little bit about, let's talk a little bit about what happens if you just continue smoking, Kathy. Can you tell me about a little bit about that?
I'm imagining nothing different than what's going on right now. I really don't smoke that much, so I'm not doing that much damage. I don't think. I don't really know.
Yeah, so maybe quitting smoking isn't something you're really interested in.
Yeah, maybe not. Not right now, anyway.
Yeah, what would have to be different for you to be more ready?
Well, probably having a health issue, that might do it. My family, they don't like being around me when I'm smoking. And I can understand that. I can understand why they wouldn't. I mean, there are nasty sides to smoking.
Well, I appreciate that. So sounds like your family's opinion and your relationship with them is important to you.
Oh, yes, my family's very important to me. I mean, I get on their case when they do things that they shouldn't be doing. So it works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I know how to handle some of my depression. Sometimes I have depression, and sometimes the smoking kind of soothes that. So sometimes I think smoking helps with that.
So the depression is something that sounds like you would like some help with.
No, I don't really need help with depression stuff. I can manage it.
Okay.
I could just start smoking.
It's worked for you in the past, it sounds like.
Oh, it does, yeah.
So how, on a scale from 1 to 10, Kathy, how 1 being not ready at all and 10 being completely ready to just go cold turkey, where would you say you are today?
Well, it depends on my mood.
Just
Today, I'd probably, today I'd probably give it 6 or 7.
Okay. That's a good number. What would maybe an 8 or a 9 look like? What would have to be different?
That would be somewhere in the future.
Okay.
Somewhere where it's affecting my kids or my family in a way that is harmful to them.
Well, I thought you didn't have kids. I'm teasing.
Well, you told me I did, so I guess
right.
I do.
So quitting smoking for your kids might be something to set a good example for them.
Right. I don't want to be. They're teenagers now. I don't want to be a bad role model for them.
Yes.
Or give them the impression that mom's behavior is acceptable behavior for them.
Well, then
they do see me. Yeah. Sorry.
There are a lot of people that have difficulty with smoking cessation. So this is a big decision, and really admire your strength and your courage for considering this.
Thank you. Okay, let's stop here. The only other thing I would do is emphasize person's autonomy, and the reality is, Kathy, that, only you can make the decision.
Yes.
To stop smoking.
Yeah.
I do like Curtis's open-ended question, and I'll tell you why. The last part, what would it look like if you started to reduce your smoking? Does that kind of matched where I was at versus quitting smoking?
Yeah, cutting back.
So, so what, Kathy, what do you think it would be like if you just reduced your smoking? Because in the back of that client's mind is that thought of, well, maybe I could still have smoking, but I don't have to smoke as much. And I might say something like that. Oh, yeah, that might be a possibility. And then I would throw in emphasizing personal choice. Emphasizing personal choice actually is one of my favorite strategies because I'm often dealing with people who have high ambivalence and low commitment to change.
Yeah.
And part of that is that sense of control, of having control in your life and not being defeated by a substance or a situation, that you're not being defeated by it, but actually you're the one in the driver's seat and you're the one that ultimately has to make the decision. And it helps when you're in an ambivalent or discordant situation.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example, Steve, of how to pay attention to sustained talk. It's not easy. I didn't make it easy on Steve. It's not easy to hang in there, but while you're with so much sustained talk coming at you, but also switching it so that you're talking and moving that person more into a self-motivational or a change talk conversation. So it went from it went from starting off lots of sustained talk to Steve making interventions to introduce change talk, to me resisting that, to him backing up, and then to moving towards being where I was at, to then reminding me of my concerns that I came into the clinic with. And, so that was the dance versus wrestling analogy. That's what he was doing. He was dancing with me, reflecting, or deflecting, not engaging in a resistant conversation with me, and then gently kind of moving me towards more of a change talk. And the way he did it was he asked a few open-ended questions. He did several reflections. One of the reflections was a very solid affirmation. He did a double-sided reflection. He acknowledged the sustained talk without amplifying it. So that was a good example. The other thing, Steve, that you did that got my attention was you kept saying my name. And if I was lost out in the ozone layer, to avoid the conversation, whenever you said my name, it pulled me right back to focusing on our relationship and what was going on in that relationship. So it was hard for me to ignore my name being called out in the way that you did it with a soft voice. And you were persistent too. You didn't get rattled.
And I like the idea too. That's a great example, Curtis, of asking about cutting back. There were oftentimes with patients that I would be working with in a substance abuse setting, sometimes even chronic patients, that abstinence was just not obtainable for a number of reasons, or not attainable for them, but asking if they would be willing to cut back. And that sometimes was a nice foothold to talk about what that would look like. And then I'm not trying to make them do anything. And it takes some of the pressure off of me as the clinician, and that I don't have to solve it. The other thing, Kathy, I think that was evident to me was that there was something else. When you mentioned the depression, I think that threw me off a little bit too, because I'm asking you to give up, something that you're telling me is a pretty viable coping mechanism that still has meaning and purpose, which is to be able to smoke to sort of calm your nerves or make you feel better for a little bit. So I could have gone in that direction too and said, smoking, I may have said, so smoking helps you relax, but that threw me off a little bit, because that's another issue that we could have easily focused on.
Definitely. Yeah. And I did it to throw you off.
You did. You got
because that is what would happen. You have a change focus, and all the other problems related to that get thrown into the mix. And if your focus is smoking and they're willing to talk to you about smoking, and they throw in depression, which is, often the case with smokers, is they use tobacco, to stimulate their brains. You could go down that path. It's a rabbit hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an Alice in Wonder hole, which would result in nothing really.
I was going to put that out there too. I was going to ask you, Kathy, and maybe this is, I don't know where to categorize this, but I would often ask patients if they'd had a success in the past, quitting or cutting down, in this case, the tobacco use. So it wasn't uncommon for me to ask a patient, have there been times in the past where you've been able to maintain sobriety or reduce your alcohol intake or your drug intake, and to have them share a little bit about a past success. I don't know where that would fit into MI. It certainly is the spirit of empowering them and sort of affirming that they have the ability to do this. The risk you run then is that they say no. No, I've never been able to do that. Then you're
but even with that, you're introducing the thought, but that does fit in really nicely with MI, especially when you're in a change talk conversation with somebody and they haven't made a plan, they haven't committed, they haven't made they haven't done planning with you. That would be a good place to use that. Mm-hmm. What have you done in the past that worked for you?
Yes, that's exactly what. And then if they would say, yes, I was sober from 1978 to 1981, I would say, wow, that is incredible. Tell me about that. What did you do?
Exactly.
How are you able to do that? And they might really get excited about that. Well, I had this great job and I had, and then I had some, so that would give us a chance to talk about a past success and try and, could we recreate that? Do you think you could recreate something like that now?
Yeah.
What would it take to recreate that kind of situation again, or that kind of scenario? I don't know. I think it's my resistance or my urge at having to resist trying to solve this, or trying to fix this, is still, it's always sort of just under the surface. I want to help this person, and I want to give them the answers and share with them, how it was when I quit smoking, and just go right into that. So it takes, for me, it took a while to realize that my role was not to supply the answer and to do this for them, but to guide them. And they may not be ready. And I have to be, as a clinician, I have to be ready to accept that and meet them where they're at, and have that sort of collaboration and join with them sort of side by side, and flatten that relationship out so that I'm not trying to make them do something. That dynamic shifts a bit when they have external influence or third-party referrals. Then a lot of the focus can go on to that third party. That, for me, is an opportunity to create that alliance and say, what could we do together to show your PO that you're serious about this, making some changes, creating that plan, and so I don't know. MI has got, it's such an empowering approach that it allows for patients that oftentimes feel disempowered and hopeless to feel that maybe there is something they can do differently to improve the quality of their lives. But I'm going to be quiet now.
That's a good summary of what we're trying to do, actually. So, and maybe I'm trying to think. I'm going to stop sharing just so I can just take a peek at my my slideshow to see where I'm at. I need to figure out how to do the slide ahead thing, but
Do you have dual screens, Kathy?
I don't.
Yeah, that's probably where you're running into trouble. The dual screens, if you put it in presenter mode, you can have a presenter screen and
yeah, that's too much technology for me. So I took the second screen to the beach, to my beach place, and so I can do one screen. I can't do two screens.
I know,
My brain
two screens
wouldn't
takes
do
some adjustment. You're not alone. There are many of us who struggle with that. I'm trying to imagine the guy with three screens. Anybody have three screens in this meeting right now?
There are people that I've seen.
Oh,
I'm not
Ryan,
one
I'm
of
so
them.
sorry.
Yeah.
My condolences to you and your eyeballs.
Okay, let me get through a couple more slides and then we'll take our break. So I'm looking at where I want to go. This might be more summary because we've done a lot of talking about this already. So I'll just kind of go through them and then we'll take our break. Is it break time? It is. I've got 2:30 your time, 2:44.
Yeah,
right?
We're probably due for a little respite.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because that might be a good place to just for us to summarize. And yeah, because we've talked a lot about some of this already. So I just want to present the darn cat. But I think I'll stop. Yeah, I'll just start us up back here. So let's take our break. Is it 12:45 or 2:45 there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I will come back, but if somebody could put me on mute while we're taking our break, and we'll come back at 3 o'clock your time, 1 o'clock mine. How's that?
Sounds good, Kathy.
Okay.
I'm muting you now.
Okay, great, thanks.
Kathy, I'm afraid you'll have to turn your own mic on by pressing *6.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, you've got it now.
We got you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Steve. Are we back? Curtis, waiting for Stephen and Brian.
I'm back.
Hi, welcome back. I am going, hopefully, go back into the PowerPoint. Here we go. So we're going to continue our conversation on with change talk, and there's certain kind of variables to change talk that we'll talk about. I talked about that, so we'll move on. So let's see what's coming. Okay. All right. In motivational interviewing, they have this acronym called DARN CATS. So, and you'll hear this with folks. DARN, D is desire. You'll hear people have a desire to change, want, like, wish to, ability to change, can, could, and need, reasons to change. If I do this, and I'm hoping that, and need to change. I have to, I've got to, I must. These are not indications that a person has committed to taking action to change. In other words, they're 90 meetings in 90 days in substance abuse programs is not uncommon. Or I am going to do this no matter what. I will get this fixed. Those are high commitment language statements that a client could say. I have to. So part of, so you can hear people's ambivalence through the DARN, desirability, needs, reasons, and need. But you're also, in order for action to take place, you have to hear this. Strong commitment, willingness is high, readiness is high, and some initial steps towards taking some changes with a maybe just a beginning plan, even though it's not completely a complete plan. So I'd like to, I think I could, if I want to stay out of here, then I have to. I've got to do something about blank. I'm going to start. I have 90 meetings in 90 days. And actually, we've talked about some of these strategies, but let's talk about more. We've had several examples of asking open-ended questions to elicit change talk. We've talked and shown importance ruler or scale. In Native world, sometimes numbers are intimidating. So in working with Native peoples, you could do high, medium, low, or some variation that shows a gradual a range, most likely, often, and something that makes sense to them. Numbers can be not valued. Looking forward and looking back, there were questions that were aimed at that. The strategy is, what have you tried in the past that has worked for you? That's an open-ended question looking back. And what do you hope will happen once you make this decision and move in that direction looking forward? Exploring goals and values are some other ways to elicit change talk. Doing a pros and cons list is another way. I didn't put that up there, but are there other things that you think of that you actually experience that you know works for the people you're working with? Any other suggestions you might have? Because this is just a beginning list. It's not a whole list. So it's not like, you know, like you can't make up some more strategies, you can. Another one I just thought of is reflective listening, but reflective listening done in a certain way. Like what you choose to reflect can sometimes encourage someone to keep talking about change. So that's where reflective listening can be a more strategic. Okay. One nice thing that I like about the 3rd edition of Motivational Interviewing, at the end of each chapter, there are a series of questions, they're about this long, that as a practitioner, as somebody trying to practice motivational interviewing, helps me it's just like a self-supervision. But say I'm trying to elicit more change talk. So I've actually put some anchors in the slideshow with page numbers, and this is based on the 3rd edition of motivational interviewing. So say I want to practice eliciting more change talk, then at the end of the chapter on change talk, there's more than one chapter on change talk, but you'll get these kind of questions. You know, what are the person's own reasons for change? Is their reluctance more about confidence or importance? So what some other behavior change researchers found is that most adults struggle not with necessarily wanting to change. They do want to change, but they don't feel confident. And it was about 80% back in the day. 80% of adult changers had a confidence issue, that they did not feel confident or hopeful. So when I'm trying to elicit change talk, I'm going to be strategizing my questions around what builds confidence. And I already know that for somebody builds confidence. I already know that Kathy and women were successful in the past builds confidence.
Kathy, you've gone into robot mode. We've lost your audio. You're chopping up pretty badly, Kathy. You might want to call back in. Maybe something's breaking up the signal.
Yeah.
Kathy, can you hear us? Or we're not getting your audio. Jeff, should we have her? Yeah, I think you should call back in. You can just barely hear you.
Okay.
Shoot.
This is a really, these next few slides are really important too, because I think the change talk and trying to evoke and strengthen that is absolutely at the heart of this approach. Let's see.
The waiting, so, yeah.
Yeah, she went into Mr. Robot mode there. That was a strange sound. Are you guys hearing that too? That kind of warbling?
Yeah. That was something unusual.
Absolutely.
I know for that looking forward, looking back, you can mess around with the number, but I like to say where would you like to be in a year from now, or where do you see yourself 5 years from now, or whatever number you want to put in there. I love that one. And then even following it up with something like how does that fit with where you're at now? I think that's really something too. And I want to get Kathy on to ask her about this, because something else that I would often ask patients is, tell me about a time when things were better before these difficulties started. And I had a patient that had to go all the way back to when they were 10. And they talked about their dad coming in the back door to secretly visit him.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Clear.
Thank
That's
you. Sorry
better,
about
Kathy.
that. Wonderful.
We were
I'm
just
learning all kinds of things about technology today.
Oh, yes. I was just sharing with them how powerful and important the evocation and strengthening of change talk is.
Yeah, it's actually, Stephen was talking about it a couple of days ago. It's actually kind of fun once you get, all the basic stuff going and it flows for you better. Then it becomes more interesting. It becomes really kind of fun. It really does sharpen your mind and your listening skills. Okay. So what I was doing was trying to get through my slideshow, but I don't know how important it is, but I am going to show them to you just so you have them. And you will get a copy of all the slideshows that I've shown you. Can you see this okay? Is anything up?
We're not seeing
No, not
anything, Kathy.
Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Okay, can you see that?
It's starting. Yeah, you're back now.
All right. Note to self, when you take a break, hang up and call back in. That's the learning. Note to self, fix the damn computer. Okay, so we were talking about the darn cats, and 80% of adult changers have confidence issues, and it's really resolving the ambivalence so that you can move forward is part of this. And then we were talking about what a DAR and CAT might sound like. I think I could, if here are my reasons, I really need to do this, committing, I can, and I'm making changes already. And then we talked about that. All right, so I wanted to show you from weak to strongest. This is a nice little grid I borrowed from somebody, I don't know who, but I liked it. It gives you what you might hear in terms of strengths of commitment language. It gives you a range. And also, I like to have little tools that people can take from a slideshow and laminate, and especially when you're first learning, it's really helpful to have visual aids. So this is kind of a visual aid that you could take into a session with you when you're first trying to learn how to do how to listen for strong client change talk. Okay. I'm trying to find my change talk sheet. So give me a second while I do that. I suppose I could make a bunch of stuff up. Oh, here we go. I could make a bunch of stuff up for this, but all right. There's an exercise that I do in training, kind of a lightweight way to have you hear a range of commitment language regarding a change talk option. Let me see if I could find that page. There's a lot more that I am not getting into in the text that definitely, if you are finding yourself really enjoying wanting to learn this and build on it and get better at it, I would encourage you to buy the 3rd edition and work your way through it. Excuse me. Because there's a lot more thoughtful suggestions in terms of what I can get in this kind of format. So I'm going to say some statements that a person might make, and you have to decide what strength of change talk you're hearing. And if you don't hear any change talk, or you just hear sustained talk in the statement, you wouldn't do anything. You just sit quiet. If you hear some of the darn, desirability, reasons, and needs, but not strong or high level commitment, you would just kind of, can you hear that sound? Just put your hands on your desk and just drum. And if you hear high desirability, reasons, needs, high preparatory, they call it preparatory change talk, and commitment, you would pound your feet on the floor and you would tap your hands on a flat top somewhere. Okay, well, I'll do a few of these, and just so you start hearing the difference. And if there's any discrepancies, we can talk about it. Okay, so let me start with. I think that I will stop smoking. What do you think? Is that no change talk? Is that desire change talk? Is that desire and commitment? Now, there are some fun little things you can do on Zoom. Maybe I can't do them today, but you can do like thumbs up for change talk, clap for change talk and high commitment, and then nothing for just sustained talk. So the statement is, I think I'll do something about my smoking.
That's change talk to me.
Oh, it's the reactions button.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's change talk. That's change talk with commitment. And that's sustained talk, okay? So we'll use the Zoom format to do that. So go down to the reactions button. And yeah, okay, so anyone else for that statement? I think I'll do something about my smoking. So go ahead and do a reaction. Yeah. Votes are in. So far, it's a thumbs up or a yes. Curtis, Stephen, what do you think? Do you have the ability to do a reactions button? It's more fun that way.
I feel like I've done it twice.
Go to the reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
Yeah, I gave thumbs
You
up.
have a little. You gave it thumbs up. I didn't see it on your screen. Okay, Stephen. Okay, good.
There
All
we
right,
go.
now we're gonna move to. Okay, there we go. So it's like visually more appealing to just do it that way. Statement 2. Yeah, I probably should cut down on my drinking. I probably should cut down on my drinking. The answer is thumbs up, and I'll tell you why. Because it is change talk, but it's not strong commitment. It's very weak commitment, actually.
Yeah, Curtis got that right.
It's sort of an afterthought.
Good
Yeah.
job, Curtis.
Good job, and Jeff, too.
Oh,
All right.
Jeff, yeah.
I think I'll go to the zoo instead of doing my homework.
Okay, I forgot what the exact reactions meant.
Yeah,
I know
no
thumbs up
was-
is change talk.
No
Which one's
was
with-
sustained talk.
No. No would be for sustained talk. Or whatever, you know, be creative, Curtis. Do whatever you think it is, and we can
Yeah,
just
we'll
ask you what
interpret.
it means. Yeah. All right. You know, my family has complained about my smoking for a long time, and I've been resistant. But you know what? I think it's time for me to do something, and I think I'll go talk to somebody. That's a clap, right? So the clap is preparatory. You hear the change talk, but you also hear the commitment, right? Is everybody in agreement with that? So I'm clapping right now.
Yes.
So it is stronger language that incorporates more of a commitment around a targeted behavior like smoking. Okay, so I'll do something stronger. So it's on the weekend. So if we looked at the grid, we'd look at the grid. It's on the moderate level. So now I'm going to do one that's on high level. I have gone to see somebody. I've cut down my smoking. My intention is to stop smoking altogether in the next 3 months.
Oh. Wow. Oh, Kathy, we can't see the grid, by the way. I know you had it up earlier, but we're not
Yeah, I'll
seeing.
throw it up.
We don't.
I stopped.
Okay.
I stopped sharing it.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I'll throw it up again just to have you look at it. Can you see it?
Yeah, we got it now.
There we go. Okay. So the first statement was, you know, it was there, but it was kind of around here. And the last statement was over here. Okay, so it doesn't mean that there isn't commitment. It just means that you might want to strengthen commitment
Yeah.
in your response to that. All right. So let's try a couple more. I don't know what's wrong with marijuana. I think marijuana is legal everywhere now. Okay, you all got that one pretty quick. Okay, maybe one more. I definitely am going to take better care of my health for sure. And the first thing that I think I'll do is start doing my blood sugar testing every day.
Oh, I rather like that.
There you go. You guys, I think you're getting the gist of this. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so what's it like for you to hear, to listen, versus have something like scripted where you can look at it and decide, take your time, paper and pencil? What's it like for you to hear various forms of sustained talk? Sustained talk is kind of easy to hear, but it's really the challenge is not assuming that someone who talks change is committing to change. So both are good. I mean, because somebody's moving in that direction. The thing you want to watch out for, though, is that you don't inadvertently assume that, okay, you're thinking about going to the doctor. Let's go make that appointment. And then what happens, again, the person's ambivalent and they go, well, wait a minute, I don't really need to go today. I mean, I could put it off a few months. So then you get more sustained talk. And no harm, really. You know, you just reflect. That's what you do, is say, oh, okay, so you're not quite ready. You're just thinking about it. You're not quite ready, but and this is where you want to reinforce change talk, but it's something new for you to consider doing that. Or it's not off the table, or it's not off your thinking that you would be willing to go to the doctor down the road. So that's really where you want to be careful that you don't get too far ahead of somebody and inadvertently cause some resistance to change, therefore reinforcing not changing.
Yeah.
So being able to distinguish preparatory language that sounds like change from high commitment change talk is important. And I think you guys got it towards the end there. You all were in agreement. Okay. Okay, we're finally, we'll spend the last few moments talking about planning for change. By the way, I'll clean up this PowerPoint so that what you get is just it'll be a summary of what we've gone over the last 4 days. All right, so the skill set you want to use for the planning process of change is a transitional summary. So a transitional summary is, anybody want to remind themselves what a transitional summary is? And we can review it.
Gosh, I can't remember.
Okay. I don't have that slide. Well, maybe I do.
I'm seeing if I had a definition in my notes, but I don't.
I'll pull it up while you're looking. So think about what was the difference between the 3 different types of summaries. And when you're going from high commitment, low ambivalence, ready to change, that's where you would use a transitional summary. So let me pull that up. Let's see if this is plugged in. No. So this is usually you've been talking to somebody about making a change, maybe depending on the motivation of the person, it could be in the same conversation, or it could be in 2 or 3 conversations down the road. Here we go. No, that's not it. That's not it. Here it is.
There we go.
Yeah. Takes a while. All right, here's the transitional summary right here. So you're going from ambivalent, low commitment to change, to low ambivalence, high commitment, lots of change talk, lots of strengthening change talk. And so a transitional summary, reflective summary statement is, let me see if I have everything we've discussed so far. Let's review briefly where we are at. And this would be moving from when I first met you. In fact, let's just do a quick Jerry, let's do our last Jerry visit.
The final Jerry appearance here.
Let's just do a quick Jerry.
I have my sunglasses because it's raining today. So,
you know, over here in Oregon, the smoke has finally hit Portland. It's really cloudy here with the smoke. It's an odd day. You ready?
I'm ready. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So Jerry, we've been on a journey together. And when we first met, you weren't sure what you wanted other than to get your PO off your back and to be able to keep your friend drinking alcohol with you. So you weren't ready for that at that time. And over the course of our time together, you've made some pretty big progress. You have cut down your drinking. You have satisfied your legal requirements. You started to hang out with some of your neighbors without drinking. So you have some sober friends now. You agreed to go to a 12-step meeting, and you're chairing meetings. You found a home group that you like, and there are people that you are getting along with, and you're lonely. You're not as lonely as you were.
That's a fine summary, ma'am. I haven't felt like this in years, and I haven't been this sober this many days since before Beverly passed away.
Wow, huge improvement, and you're feeling really good about it.
Well, I'm sleeping a little better, and my boy Tommy came over and made some macaroni and cheese, and we sat and talked for a while at the table, and it's all right. I reconnecting, and I can even feel my fingers in the morning now.
Really?
Yeah, it's
So lots of health benefits, relationship improvements,
yeah.
family life. Wow.
Yeah,
You
Linda
just made-
said if I keep this up, she's gonna discharge my paperwork.
Oh, wow. That's a huge carrot. Well, let's move on and wraps up some final planning for you to maybe get out of that legal situation. What do you think?
Well, that sounds just like my kind of plan.
Okay, well, we're ready to plan. No ambivalence there. And oh, by the way, you did learn a new word, ambivalence. That was a new word to you.
Ambivalify. Yes, ma'am. I use it all the time. Wherever I can.
Yeah.
I say, Tommy, you're rather ambivalent about having macaroni and cheese.
That's right.
You wanted sandwiches. I said, this is what we're having,
Tom. And Tommy said, Dad, where did you get that word from?
He was quite impressed. And I sat back and I said, well, Tommy, this is your new improved dad. So
that's right. So we want to keep that going. And as we've talked, you've made quite a lot of self-planning and improvements. So let's keep talking about what else needs to happen in order for you to successfully graduate and feel freer out of the legal system. Okay, so that's a transitional summary. Now we're going to negotiate a final plan. And it doesn't have to, you could have done planning around anything that Jerry felt low ambivalence, high commitment to. And I think where we ended up last time was he felt low ambivalence, high commitment to getting out of the legal system. And as a result of doing that, all these other changes kind of mushroomed out, the ripple effect. So when you're doing planning for change, you are now free in MI land, in MI world, you're free to offer information and advice with permission, basically. How do I get out of that? Okay. And here are some potential questions that you could ask. I always like to start with, tell me what you already know, because people often know more than what they've been able to say to you.
Yeah.
And if you have information, what are you interested in? Would you like to talk about some options? Would you like some suggestions? Can I offer you some possibilities or options? In your packet that I send you, you're going to have a change plan worksheet in that packet. And the main thing with doing planning for change is identifying your targeted behavior. And once you have your targeted behavior, then the following questions will flow from that. The setting a date to start is really coming out of tobacco research, where they found that when they're working with people with tobacco addiction, that when somebody's ready, setting a start date is very helpful in initiating that plan for change and reinforcing the plan for change.
I love number 6.
Pardon?
So I love number 6 too. It's a great, how will you know when things are working?
Getting better, yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is, by the way, these items were research-based items they found to be the most useful in any kind of plan for change. So it's a behavior plan change. In treatment, we used to call them treatment plans. I personally thought that it would be nice if they could call them change plans. But, state and governmental agencies get involved and, they don't always follow the research. But these items on the change plan, or these are the things you would include on a change plan. What am I changing? Why am I changing it? What do I hope will be the benefits? How will you change? You know, are you setting it up to be successful? Any barriers you have and solutions to the barriers? When will you start? Who are the important people or relationships that will support your change? And then how do you know if you're making progress or being successful?
Yeah.
Those are the research-based items that they found are the most helpful in creating a change plan. And then these are, I've talked about these throughout. You probably have already experienced some of these, but these are some traps to avoid. So not doing a 2-to-1 ratio on questions to reflections, asking too many questions and not reflecting, taking an ambivalent side, you know, taking the side of change instead of helping someone process their ambivalence, coming across as the expert, labeling, and the premature focus. I've talked about that's the one trap that a lot of counselors complain about, is that they get too far ahead of somebody, they're not paying attention, and then blaming the person, you know, in kind of subtle, it's more subtle ways. If you weren't so sensitive, maybe you wouldn't have this problem, or maybe you need to toughen up, or why don't you leave in a domestic violence situation? Why can't you leave? What's the problem? Or, you know, just getting angry at them for not doing the obvious. So these are some things to pay attention to. All right, here we go. Just this morning I went through, every time I do a training, I always go back and review some of my notes, but this is a slide that I created this morning based on MI's 3rd edition. And the reason I brought this up is these aren't in any linear fashion. A lot of people come to motivational interviewing training already having some skill at it because it's been around a while, or you just innately have a skill like reflective listening, or you're good at open-ended questions, or you have the spirit and style down. So you're not coming in with no skill set. So Miller and Rolnick created what they considered the main learning tests of MI, and they published it in their book. So we talked about identifying goal. I think that one is a common one that counselors or helpers struggle with, is trying to change too much. But you know, as you read through the list, you can kind of figure out, well, where am I at in my development of this practice? How would you assess yourself? And as I mentioned earlier, getting the spirit and style and the ability to show empathic, reflective listening are 2 of the most important skills. And whatever you do beyond that builds on that. So it's hard to do processing of ambivalence without having those 2 skills, for example. It's hard to strengthen change talk without having those 2 skills. It's hard to strengthen commitment, or when to create a change. It's hard to do that without having those 2 primary skills. So if you feel confident in your ability to show spirit and style of MI and do empathic, reflective listening along with the ORs, then you can kind of branch out and play around with this a little bit more. But I offer that to you as some ways for you to do some self-supervision as you move forward and play around with this, or devote your time and practice and energy towards it. I will tell you that learning this practice takes time and focus and energy and practice, along with your ability to get intermittent supervision from a qualified person to help you with the snags that come up as a result of you working, or as a result of you implementing this in your work. And that therefore requires feedback and coaching. You know, you can have this experience of doing this training. You'll take what you take from it. But when you're trying to perfect an approach to working with people, you have to get a coach. You have to have somebody give, and it doesn't take a lot of feedback. It takes some. And you can, and it's usually best done with a sample of your work. So the analogy that I like to use, because I played the piano for years as a kid, is I used to go to weekly sessions with a piano teacher. And the piano teacher would play, and then I would play. And then he or she would say, try this, try that. So that's what it's like. It's a skill, and you have to get somebody who's more advanced than you are to offer you some suggestions on how to get better. And that's what this is like. This is a practice that requires that. And you will have to decide how much investment, time, energy you want to put into that. That's your decision. We at the center, we offer that to people, so you can get it for free. Some people pay hundreds of dollars for feedback and coaching sessions. At the center, we are offering it for free to people who've gone to a basic MI training. So that'll be publicized in the future, and you can kind of drop in for a session and say, I've been practicing and I'm stuck on X, Y, or Z. And then we'll help you. We'll give some, coaching and things to try. And then you can go try it, and you could either come back or you could say, hey, that was worth my time and energy to do. Me personally, I did 72 tapes I think around 72 tapes in my dissertation, all of which got coded from an expert MI coder. And that was on top of other tapes that I'd done prior to doing my dissertation. And it was very, very, very helpful for perfecting that practice for me. It puts you in a vulnerable spot, but if you have a trusting partner to work with, it pays huge dividends. So
Did
that's
you
my
say
spiel
72?
on that.
Did you say 72 tapes, Kathy?
About 72 tapes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Cost me a lot of money to do that, by the way. I wasn't getting it for free. But you get for anyone who wants to do post-training work with me on this, you're getting it for free, and that's a bargain. Okay, here's some references and resources to think about. It's voluminous out there, how much MI stuff there is. I'm just giving you the high quality ones that I tend to look at a lot. Third edition of MI. The Mason and Butler book is really for brief interventions. That's a whole other thing, but it's based on MI. And then one of my favorite articles that was written back in 2009, still good, is helping people to understand really what MI is. And it's a good article to read because people have various erroneous ideas about what motivational interviewing is. And this article really clarifies it quite a bit. I usually do show training. There is a video training series you could get at the University of New Mexico, casa.unm.edu. We just couldn't pull it off this time. But they're worth taking a look at for examples and that kind of stuff. Okay, here's my closing wish for you. Let's just take a moment though. And we really appreciate you filling out what we call the GIPRA. You probably heard of that. And final comments, final thoughts that you want to share before we say adios. Open mic time. Or open chat box time.
I just want to say thank you for how I mean, I've been in some motivational interviewing trainings over my career, and this was by far the best and most interactive, which helps me learn. I mean, I learned from the other ones too, but this really put like, it tested me, but in a really good way, not where I was uncomfortable or anything like that. I just really liked the format of this one. So thank you for doing that.
That's very helpful to know, Curtis. Thank you for sharing that. I always wonder about that, but I really appreciate that comment. Yeah. I did enjoy Jerry, and he will probably always be associated with you, Steve, from here on out. So yeah, bring Jerry back.
When we take
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
When we take this on the road, Kathy, I'll evoke Jerry from time to time.
You will be Jerry. Yeah. I think that Jerry should come with us wherever we go. Yeah.
He's just dessert. You know.
He
really
yeah.
He really is. You might see him up at Tahlequah living out of that canoe later this fall. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've met Jerry somewhere before. I really did.
He's a conglomeration of, I've got a buddy, a long childhood friend that lives in Bartlesville, and that's my Oklahoma connection, and I've got some connections there. Good people down that way. So I have a soft spot for my Okie friends, and good country down there.
Yeah. So Kathy, as I mentioned before, the MI spirit, what a gift. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, when I saw it happen in real action, I mean, it was just like, I was just like you described, there it was, bam, in my face. And I know it was the reflective listening, of doing it twice and just continuing to ask those questions, but then to see it and experience it, is nothing short of amazing. And I just thank you so much. I've never heard that before, and I just can't thank you enough for sharing that with us. So important. Such a great tool to add the toolbox. Yeah. Sure.
And I'm so happy you got that experience while you're doing the training. You know, that doesn't always happen. So
no, I couldn't wait to share.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and Brian, I'll leave you with the last word before I say goodbye. It's been great working with you, Brian. You've been a joy to be around. And thank you for participating this week with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for allowing me to participate. I know I was just the guy helping to set everything up, but I did learn a lot. I honestly think I like the smaller groups. I've been in a lot of scenarios where you have at least 20 or 30 people coming into a learning session, and it's not as intimate, not as like if I'm stumbling on a particular, I can ask the question, I can get that answer, get that help, not just hope someone gets it answered for me. So So yes, thank you for doing this in spite of having just us, and thank you for allowing me to participate and learn. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a fun experience to do this in a small group, and I can definitely see the advantages. You get to know people a little bit better, and I appreciate Jeff's support and Steve's support to me this week, because it's essential for me to be able to do this, that I have that kind of support both in person and online. So I appreciate both of you for being present with us the whole time. You guys, I wish you the best. You're great. You're great learners. You're great guys. I, you know, come back and visit down the road. I'll probably offer a post-training check-in session in October or November. So look for it on the web with other people that have gone through an MI training. And I wish you the best in your work with our Native peoples. And so take care and have a good rest of your day. And I guess I'm off to talk to IT today.
That's right. You made your plan now. Time to follow
yeah, they
through.
just sent me an email. They're really on it. They sent me an email saying, we're going to code you at 4 o'clock. So I guess I'm stuck with that.
All right. Kathy, thank you so much. And please, gentlemen, please give our regards to Shayla and to Lisa. And we're going to try and reach out to you guys, coordinate how to get you guys your certificates. So
Okay.
we'll be in touch. I'll talk with Brian about that, and we may do a post training discussion, because Brian, we're going to do this again next week. So we're going to have another small group to do this with. I think once we wrap up both trainings, we'll get kind of a strategy for getting certificates out to everybody. And we should have a follow-up email to opportunity to complete that short survey if you didn't get a chance. So thank you, gentlemen, for hanging with us, and best of luck to you, and reach out at the center here if you need anything. And Brian, I think we'll do a follow-up planning call with Kathy and Jeff, and make sure we've got certificates, have a plan to get certificates out to everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you
Bye-bye,
guys.
everyone.
You too.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.